I think social media has given a lot of artists PTSD, and I get it. We are now in a toxic relationship with creating content and social media in general. But come with me on a story. When I was 15, many, many moons ago, when I grew up in my hometown of Swansea in Wales, yn byw yn y cymoedd Predfeth. I wasn't in the valleys. I was in a city called Swansea, but I was in a band. And if you want to laugh, this is the band. This is the band I was in, and as you can see, this is me. I look half like a serial killer and half like a Karen who's about to tell you off and probably steal your football. But when we used to play gigs, we would have to print flyers from one of our dad's computers on their printer, so that we could give them out to try and get people to the gigs, right? This is going back in the day of what we'd have to do. Now, a lot of people who are watching this are nodding, going, I remember these days. Now, we would play shows in pubs because there weren't any venues at the time in that city that we could play. And if we could get 50 people to come and watch us play, that was like fucking Glastonbury. I mean, that was as big as it was going to get. But when I was 18, I remember being in a band that got asked to do a bunch of showcases in London. Now, I'm from Wales. This is London. It's probably about 4 hours away. But London being the big city, we went and did these showcases. Now, at the time, let me tell you how we got label interest. We had to record demos on cassettes, right? Who remembers getting your old C90 cassettes? You'd go down to PC World, Best Buy in America, and you'd buy a pack of like 20 C60s or C90s, and you'd record your music, your demo onto these things, and then you'd send them physically in the post to record labels. But you know what the best bit about it is? They'd reply via letter. Like literally, they'd literally give you a letter, and the letter would basically tell you to fuck off, but the letter would literally be like signed from someone at the label, and you get this letter and be like, we got a letter from the label. But that was kind of the way that you did things. And then when I hear like when I hear people say, the good old days, and I think, well, it wasn't in South Wales when we were recording on my mate's 4-track and we were doing Battle of the Bands competitions in front of bar staff who didn't want to be there. I mean, that wasn't the good old days at all. Now, I know a lot of you remember these days having conversations with the venue and they say, how many people can you bring? And you go, 50. And they go, 50. And what you mean is 7 at a push, like really pushing it. But, that was kind of like how music was back then. There was no social media. And then social media came along, and it's like, it's this magic thing where we can get in front of people from around the world and we can make content via a phone for free and distribute it for free. And I know I sound like an absolute boomer right now, but when you come from that old school, to see the things that you could do, like back in the day, for anyone who's over the age of probably 30, what would you have given to have that facility as an artist or a band? Everything. I'd kill people, as you could see by the picture. Like anything to have that opportunity rather than sending out cassettes, or worse still, printing out flyers on your dad's printer, But somewhere along the way, it's soured because it's like socials have turned from this magical thing into a prison. And they're not a prison, they're a playground. They're an amazing opportunity. But we've now got this kind of toxic relationship, and we need to kind of redefine what we are here to do with socials. The job, the tool, the role of social media. The amount of times I hear people go, I'm not a content creator. And I go, no, you're not. Like, that's part of the gig, but you're not. But this idea that you should be a content creator over an artist, like, who's perpetuating that? It's a stupid thing to say, and it's a stupid thing to think. But it works. Like, it's there. It's an amazing tool. It's how we use it. It's how we use that tool. But there's a couple of things I hear from artists, probably a couple of times a day, but at least a couple of times a week, that I think we need to kind of set the record straight and actually redefine what we should be doing with social media, and not what this idea that it's a terrible thing and we are a slave to the system. And the first thing is making stuff that we are proud of. Quality over quantity. We are not in the quantity game. And do you know what? The amount of times that I hear the word consistency, it's all about consistency. And I think, no, it's not. You can be consistently shit. You don't need to be consistent. You need to be good. Like, there's a different thing. Like, honestly, if we're working together and you say, Damian, I'm not going to post 4 times a week. I'll go, all right. Like, does that work? Absolutely. But Do you have to? No, not at all. You have to make good stuff. Like, that's what this is about. So therefore, you have to make stuff that you're proud of. And I think, I don't know where this went of, when you go and do a gig, you want to do something you're proud of. When you wrote a song, you'd want to write something you're proud of. When you record the song, you want to make something you're proud of. Like, who's then kind of going, but the social media should be shit? Like who thinks like that? It should be really good. We should be enjoying it. It should be fun. It should be a great thing to do. Not only because it's a tool, not only because it is promotion, but because we're actually showing off the awesome things that we're doing. I feel like talking to creatives and artists who aren't consistent by their very nature. That's not the skill set. What makes you an artist and being so inspirational is the way that you can tell stories and your talent and your creativity. But that doesn't lend itself to consistency and practicality and stuff. So trying to tell someone who is just not a consistent person to be more consistent is like telling an ugly person just be more attractive. It's like, well, honestly, I would if I could, but that's just not my game. And that's the bit. We've got to play the right game, which means number 2 is what is the game? And to me, if you say, hey, what I can be is consistent, and what I can do is I can get out there and I can batch content, and I am good at making videos, and I can put out a song every couple of weeks. Great. Well, that's your game. There's nothing wrong with that. That's a really good game. That works. That absolutely 100% works. But is it the only way? No. Absolutely not. There's loads of ways. There's loads of ways of doing this. And our job is to be effective. Our job is to get the outcome. Our job isn't to do what everyone else is doing and get a shitter result. That's not what we're here. So choosing the game. And so therefore, if you say, but I don't mind walking down the street with an emotional hook or crying on camera, I'm like, great. Then there's your game. It works. That's a brilliant thing to do. It absolutely works. I would not look down anyone. In fact, I use that tactic with a lot of the artists that we work with. But if someone just goes, it's not me, I'm like, fine, we'll find another game. And that's the bit. We find another game. And let me tell you what the best game is. And that's number 3, which is doing fun shit. Like, when you got into being an artist or being in a band or just playing your instrument, why did you do it? Because it was fun. It was awesome. How cool was it? Like, you're in a place where you're like, hey, we get to do a gig. Like, do you remember the first time you played a gig? Like, I do. It was awful. But it's brilliant. It was awesome. And we were terrible. But it was so much fun, and we all left the stage, and people were so kind. They're like, "Oh, it was really well. It was amazing." And I look back and go, "You lied," but it was like the feeling was amazing. That's why we got into doing this, doing fun shit. If you remove all the fun shit of whether it's going on tour or going in the studio, and we just go, "Yeah, the music industry isn't that now." What you have to do is you have to sit in your bedroom and you have to write song after song after song after song after song. But then twice a week you have to go on the street, walk down the street, and you have to make content which is 18 seconds long, and you just have to make emotional hook after emotional hook after emotional hook. I'm like, that's a factory. That's shit. That's not what we signed up for. Now, does that work? 100%. And if that's your game, great. But if it's not, we should be doing the fun shit. That's what we should be doing. We should be doing the fun, exciting opportunities, experiences, and then we've got something to shout about. We've got something to talk about. So if your experiences are posting social media content every day, then I think you're in the wrong game. I think at that point you should be a social media content creator, which brings me on to number 4, which is you are not a social media content creator. That's not your gig. What you are is an artist, a storyteller, a leader, a songwriter, a talent, a musician, a performer. Those are the things that you are. If you're the superhero, those are your superpowers. And are you a content creator? I mean, it helps to be able to create content and tell stories, but I wouldn't say that's the game. I would say what you should be here is you should be the artist, and the social media is the tool to show it off. And it is a great tool with all the features, long-form content, short-form content, the fact that you can comment, you can talk to people, you can build a community, you can talk to people from anywhere in the world. You can meet people. You can add music. You can get other people to share it. There's so many features that you can do, which is so incredibly amazing. And it brings us back to that point, which is, when you post something and someone just says, hey, I just found you. This is awesome. Like that feeling. Like that's what social media can do. And I can promise you it doesn't happen when you're playing the Dog and Duck or the Cardiff Arms pub in Swansea in the very early 1920s when I was a kid. Like, no one just goes, hey, I just popped in to listen to a band. That's not what happens. Whereas now it does. And that's the feeling we should be getting. Because this is about making memories and using social media platforms to tell the story. It's the easiest way. What we don't have to do is we don't have to have a big production house or with a big production company that does it. If you've got it, fantastic. It's brilliant. Is it going to work? It's probably going to work better. But do we need that? No. What we have to do is do good shit, do fun shit, do the shit that you like to do, and then social media is the bit where you kind of go, by the way, this is all the cool shit I'm doing. And I think where we are at now is most artists have PTSD because they're spending so much time worrying about the social media that they're not doing the fun shit, which means they've got nothing to talk about, which means they have to walk down the street doing the same thing time after time. And I'm like, oh, we're just in the wrong way round on a circle. But go the other way round. Instead, go and do fun shit. You've got more stuff to talk about on socials. More stuff to talk about on socials builds more of a community. More of a community allows you to go do more fun shit. More fun shit allows you to go and talk about the fun shit. It goes round in a circle. But somewhere along the line, this disconnect's got. We've forgotten how to make memories, and what we're trying to do here is we're trying to talk about how many releases can we do because everything's about numbers. But I promise you something, in 10 years, 20 years, 30 years, when you look back at your career or your journey as an artist, will you remember about that consistent streak of 367 days in a row where you posted every single day? No, will you, bollocks? What you'll be thinking of is, hey, remember that time when that thing happened, or we went and did that gig, or when the van broke down, or those are the things that you remember, or when we're in the studio, or when we met that person who supported us, or when we supported that artist, or when we played that gig. Like, all of those things are the things you remember. And social media, it should be the scrapbook for these things. Yes, we have to capture them in a certain way, but we don't have to make social media the be all and end all. What we've got to do is we've got to say, this is just a tool. Every day someone goes, oh, do you know what? Music's not going to be a thing anymore because AI's come along. And I'm like, what are you talking about? That's rubbish. That's stupid. That's ridiculous. Of course that's not going to be a thing. Like, I'm sure AI is going to be a massive tool, and I'm sure there is going to be a big thing about AI. But at the same point, it's not the be all and end all. We want human connection. We want humans. We want reality. Some people don't, but most of us do. And so it's the same thing with socials. It's a tool. It's something we should be looking at going, this is amazing. And every time I make a video and I get comments going, I'm quitting because social media is shit. I'm like, honestly, you're just doing it wrong. That's all it is. We've got to find a way that you enjoy this, because the whole thing is about fun. And some things you have to do that you don't like. But social media on the whole shouldn't be one of them. It should be about doing cool, fun shit, coming up with great stories, doing crazy stuff, making amazing things, creating good stuff. And the social media is there to go, by the way, look all the cool shit that I'm doing, and documenting what I'm doing and how great you are as an artist, and the great songs and the great talent, the great music, the great production, the great stories. Social media is just there to show it off. And why? Because there's people that will appreciate you for it, and we must never lose sight that when someone messages and goes, oh, that's awesome, that's a real person who appreciates your work and what you are doing. That is so important. That was never the case when, the 90s or the early 2000s, pre-MySpace, I guess. That wasn't a thing, whereas now it is. You got people from all over the world that will message you and go, hey, this is amazing, and I'm in Mexico. How amazing is that? So, my closing thought is, socials can be toxic, and I totally understand, but they can be magic. They can be a tool, and you get to choose whether this is a tool or whether this is a toxic relationship, because you've already got the spark. You've got everything to set this alight. You've got the tools, and now it's up to you to use that tools. Do you have to use every platform? No. Do you have to post every day? No. Do you have to go live if you don't want to? No. But there's so many cool things that you can do, and let's not lose sight of make memories and then use the social media to show off how awesome you are. Anyway, that's my positivity for the day. Hope you love it. Love you. Bye.